Hi y'all, good morning. I have quite the assortment hodgepodge of gardening tasks I need to get done today. My garlic, half of my garlic is ready to be harvested. I still have some seeds I need to get planted, like my watermelon, my corn, a little bit farther behind than I wanted to be on that, but it's definitely not too late if you haven't gotten yours in the ground either. Some beans I need to get seeds in the ground, a few other things. I need to do a ton of weeding. Gosh, I have just so many little tasks in my raised bed garden I have just neglected over the past week or two because I have been primarily focusing on working on my front landscape. And you know how it is in the garden. It's like when you focus on one area, the rest of the yard just gets neglected. So the raised bed garden is overdue for some harvesting. I think my beets are all ready to harvest. Some weeding. I need to get these seeds in the ground, like I said. A few other tasks. My tomato cages my kids assembled for me. I need to get those around all my tomatoes. So I thought I'd take you along with me and show you just what I have to get done in the garden today. So let's get going. All right, so right here is my garlic. I've got this full bed of garlic, and then I have a little bit of garlic in this bed down here. And you can see some of this garlic has already completely flopped over, dried up. So it's a little past when I should be harvesting it. As a general rule of thumb, it's about a month after your garlic scapes start to come up, and then you'll start to see the bottom leaves die down. And generally, everything I've read, like it kind of varies on opinions on exactly when, but like 4 to 5 dead leaves at the base, because those leaves correlate with the outer protection of the garlic, the like papery sleeve, you know? So this row is definitely ready to be harvested. So I'm going to go ahead and get in there and get it dug up. I went ahead just to look and I dug this guy up. So he's looking pretty good. This is the only row of soft neck garlic that I planted. The rest of the garlic I planted is hardneck. Soft neck is, there's two varieties, basically, two categories, I should say, of garlic, either your soft neck or your hard neck. And most of the garlic that you get at the grocery store is soft neck. And in fact, this whole row of garlic was planted from a package of like organic garlic that I had left over. And I just broke the cloves up, stuck them in the ground, and they did wonderfully. So let's go ahead and get harvesting these. So either a trowel, a nice good trowel, or like a hoary knife, anything like that would be great to get in here and dig up your garlic. Super simple. Basically, all you're going to do is don't dig too close to the bulb, because of course we don't want to damage the bulb, but about 3 inches away from where you think the garlic bulb should be, just dig straight down and kind of, you're going to pull and pry. Oh, wow. Here we go. Nice big clove right here, or bulb. So I'm just going to go through and dig all these up, and then we'll need to let them dry out. Oh, it's so satisfying. You hear that sound of the pull? Beautiful garlic. Oh my goodness, you guys, look at that. Look at the size of that garlic. I do have, how many different varieties? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different varieties. And I grew some elephant garlic. The elephant garlic, I don't think is quite ready. I'll have to go look. It's on the far side. But I'm eager to see the size of those elephant garlic bulbs. So ideally you want to cut your water a couple weeks before, like a week or two before your harvest. And that way you give a chance for all this dirt to dry, and then it makes for a cleaner, easier harvest. But because I interplanted some peppers and I also did some flowers and basil, I couldn't cut the water. That's okay. It'll just take a little bit more time for it to dry and get all this wet dirt out. Oh my goodness, look at all that garlic. Oh my gosh, look at the size of this. Now this is a hardneck variety. This is the music hardneck. Wow, do you see that? Like, look at my hand. I have pretty large hands for scale. That's incredible. And you can tell the difference, I mean, immediately when you pull these up, just the difference between the hard neck. I mean, they're definitely hard versus your soft neck, which is much more floppy, like harvesting onions. So all of this garlic right here is my elephant garlic, and you can tell they are definitely ready to be harvested. I thought they were more green than this, but they are ready to be harvested. So let's see the size of this garlic bulb. I'm curious. Oh, I mean, they're big, but they're honestly not much bigger than the music variety. Still a nice, good sized bulb. Whoa, this one's really big. Wow. Man, so many weeds. Look at that. It was already starting to produce some babies. That's beautiful. Oh, this is so exciting. You guys, harvest time is the best. It's just so satisfying, all that work. Wow, that's gorgeous. Smells so good. I probably just got tons of dirt on my face. All right, here we go. This is the first, probably, let's see, I still probably have about 2/3 of my garlic left. You can see I have 3 other varieties. Nope, sorry, 2 other varieties. That's more music. And this is Crandensk. I can't remember how to say it or pronounce it or spell it. I'll have to put it on the screen, but it's another hardneck variety over there that I think needs just a little bit more time. But here is my harvest so far. You can see I've got here on the far right is the music hardneck, and then in the middle there is the elephant garlic, and then on the far left there, they're slightly smaller and have like some purple on them. Those are a soft neck garlic that I just put the cloves in the ground from some organic garlic that I had purchased at the grocery store. But you can really see the size of these elephant. Oh my word. Like, look at that. That is huge. It's almost the size of an onion. It's wild. And honestly, the smell, the fragrance of this music variety is probably my favorite. It just smells incredible. So I'm going to let these cure for the next, 1 to 3 weeks. I'm going to cut the roots off since I have so much moisture. We've had so much rain. I don't want them to be wet. So definitely going to cut the roots off, and then I'm going to put them inside on some racks so they get good airflow, and then just let them cure. You want them to cure out of the sun, somewhere where they're not going to get wet. You don't want to put them where they're going to get rained on or anything like that. So if you do it outside, somewhere covered, protected, and out of the sun, or you can do it inside. And I'm just going to cut the roots off, like I said, and then just put them on some racks so that they can dry out. This is one of my tomato beds, and this is another one. I do have a few tomatoes planted elsewhere, but those are my determinate or bush varieties. These are all my indeterminate tomatoes, and I recently got a different type of tomato cage than I've typically done in the past. I know there are so many different ways to support your vining tomatoes, your indeterminate tomatoes. I know there's the Florida weave, like some people just suspend them on string. You can grow them over trellises, arbors, all different things. But I wanted to try these tomato cages I got on Amazon. And the reason I wanted them is because they collapse and fold up. So all these parts come apart, and then I can store them. It's just storing the individual supports and then the stakes in the winter. So they're easy to store, don't take up a lot of space, because we are definitely running short on storage space for the garden. So I need to get the rest of my tomato cages in. I've gotten a few in, but I still have a ton of tomatoes in here that I need to get the supports on. So I'm going to do that now. So all I'm doing right now is going in and removing a lot of this lower foliage. The less foliage for me that is close to the ground and touches the ground, the less pests and the better airflow that I feel like my tomatoes get. There's so many different ways, tips and tricks for tomatoes, but I prefer to remove all of this lower foliage. I want to show you close up what these trellis supports look like. They are just little clips like this that snap on, and you can actually configure them into a different variety, like a ton of different shapes. I can't remember. I want to say there's like 5 or 6 different configurations that they can do, and they come with instructions on how to do that. But they recommend this triangle for tomatoes. And you can, so because of that, you can adjust the height of all of these supports. And these, I believe, are 6 feet tall. So a good height, but I need to add the supports to the rest of the tomatoes in these beds. And then I am going to go in and clean up the bottom leaves on these tomatoes too. Next on my to-do list is to harvest these beets. We have been harvesting a few and eating them as we harvest them, and they are absolutely delicious roasted. I roast mine in the oven, just dice them up and roast them on 425 degrees with salt, pepper, and a little garlic. They are delicious, but they are way ready to be harvested. They are huge and ready to come out of the ground, and I can put something else in its place. So let's harvest these beets. Oh, that's a little guy. I should have left him. Here, maybe not all of them are ready. Let's see, some are and some aren't. So I'm just gonna get the ones that are ready. I am not sure what happened there, but my camera quit recording. So I did remember as I was harvesting that I'd succession planted. So these here are younger and not ready to harvest. They're much, much smaller. And then I went ahead and harvested all the really big mature ones. And we've got quite a bit here. I should probably weigh them and see how much I got, but a lot of big, beautiful beets. Awesome. And I will leave the rest of those in to grow a bit bigger and mature. I hope you can hear me over the lawnmower. My neighbor is mowing right near where I am working. This bed is right now primarily weeds, but it actually is okra as well. You can see amongst the weeds all my little tiny okra seedlings. So I do have some dill in here that self-seeded from last year, and then a ton of weeds. This is what, I mean, we've had so much rain. Like we'll go 5 days of really hot temperatures, no rain, and then it'll just pour for several days. So all this rain has produced a ton of weeds for me. I do have some marigolds in there and some nasturtium, but I need to get in here and weed. And from about here down are okra. You can see some little seedlings. And then I'm gonna throw in some of my small mini watermelon seeds right here. So So unfortunately, it got crazy hot and my camera overheated for a second. And then we had a huge thunderstorm roll in. So I took a break, went inside, let my camera cool off, and also made myself an iced coffee while I waited out the thunderstorm. But I did get the rest of this bed all weeded, and I did plant my watermelon seeds. I did that before I realized that the camera was overheated and not working. So anyways, I was just putting the seeds in the ground. I did 2 different varieties of watermelon. They are both seedless. I'll put the names of them on the screen. And then because they're seedless, you do have to have a pollinator watermelon. And I order mine from Johnny Seeds, and they include the pollinator watermelon with your order. So it's an ACE watermelon is what you use for the pollinator. So all I did was just throw those in this bed. It's not ideal because it's going to end up taking up so much of the space, but it is at the back corner of my raised bed garden. We wanted to get, there's a side, sorry about that. There is part of our side yard that we wanted to get tilled up and make kind of the area for all of our vining crops, our pumpkins and watermelon, but we have just not gotten to it. And I wanted to make sure I got those watermelon in the ground because they are my kids' absolute favorite. So at least I have those watermelon in. It'll be kind of iffy if I can get the pumpkins in the ground in time. Although last year I planted them at the end of June and they were ready before Halloween, before September. Like we harvested them early September and a couple of them even rotted before Halloween. So maybe I won't get my pumpkins in the ground until late June, July this year as a test to see if they can be ready closer to Halloween time. Anyways, so watermelon seeds are in the ground. This bed is all weeded. Now I need to go weed some more beds. I'm gonna work on this bed right here. This had some of my tulips that I had for just cutting. I'm gonna pull those out and plant my corn seeds here. I really wish I had got my corn in the ground about like 3 weeks ago, but it's okay. All the farmers around here, their corn is about like 3 inches tall. So I'm not too far behind, but gonna get the corn here in this bed, and then there's another bed that I need to tidy up to get my beans in the ground. Ah! Oh my goodness. I thought the storm was gone. Oh no. All right, so it just started pouring again. I had checked the radar and didn't see any more storms coming, and the sky is like blue off in the distance. You can't really see it there, but so I thought it was good, but I'm gonna wait it out here in the shed and hopefully it passes soon and I can get back to work. All right, back to work. It looks so much better now that all the weeds are out. These are some of my cantaloupes, my sweet cantaloupes, and then some of my sweet honeydew melons that I planted along the trellis to grow up it. And I started those from seed a couple weeks ago, and they are just coming along nicely. The corn I'm growing this year is American Dream. It is a hybrid sweet corn variety. Last year I tried natural sweet. Did not have great pollination last year. We were out of town for about 2 weeks, right in the prime pollination time. And you know, corn is a grass. It is pollinated by wind rather than by our pollinators, your butterflies and bees. So really, wind has to occur, and it's better planted in blocks for pollination to occur. But because we were out of town, I don't know what the weather was really like when we were gone, and one of the things that you can do, especially if you're growing a small amount of corn like I am in a raised bed, is you can go out and shake your corn stalks to aid in pollination, and that kind of mimics the wind. So because we were out of town, I didn't do that, and I also don't know if we had enough wind while we were gone. Either way, we had poor pollination, didn't have great results. So I'm trying a different variety this year. Not that the variety really will change pollination. I don't know. I just wanted to try something else. So this time is American Dream. Like I said, it's a sweet corn. I got this from Johnny Seeds. I do plan to do 3 different succession plantings. So every 2 weeks I will sow a few more, and that's just to prolong harvest. This matures in 77 days. Most of your corn is around that like 70 to 80 day mark. It does require warm weather, so you do not want to plant it early in the season when you still are having the cool days, cool nights, and risk of frost. So it's definitely best planted in late spring. I'm by no means an expert on growing corn. I have not had the best luck with it when I have done it in the past. My dad and brother grow corn, and they actually have had great success, but my brother's on a farm and has tons of land. And I believe last year, I can't remember how much corn they had, but a lot. I think they're still eating through it. It's in their freezer. Anyways, so what I plan to do is succession plant. I am choosing this 4x6 raised bed, which if you are growing corn at home, you want to plant your corn in what they call like the block method versus doing long rows. So corn needs to be close together and get all that pollination from each other, and you'll have more successful pollination if it is planted in kind of a wider block versus long skinny rows. So I'm going to plant probably 2 rows today, and then I'll do 2 more rows in 2 weeks, and then 2 more rows in another 2 weeks for a total of 6 rows, because I'm doing each row about a foot apart to give them that space. And then each corn plant in the row will be planted about 6 inches apart as well. So I'm going to get that started now. Before I start my seeds, I'm going to amend my soil with some garden tone. Any really good, well-balanced organic fertilizer would be great. So I'm just sprinkling this all over the soil, and I'm just gonna work it in. So for planting the seeds, it is recommended to plant them at a depth of about 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch and about 6 to 7 inches apart. And then I'm going to do each of my rows a foot apart. So I'm just going to make a shallow trench, and then I'll make my next row roughly a foot apart down here. So you can plant 2 seeds every 6 inches, and that way you can ensure that you have one growing, and then just thin the weaker or smaller of the 2 seedlings out. And I have this dibbler. I mean, this is exactly 6 inches. You can measure or eyeball it. I tend to eyeball most things. Oh, that one's damaged. You know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and do 3 rows today. Okay, all I'm going to do is cover these lightly, backfill my little trench, and water them in. Corn does require warm soil and fairly consistently moist soil to germinate. So I will do my best to keep this from drying out. Whoops, uncovered one. Just want to show you how good the strawberries are looking. I just picked this guy, and I believe which variety this one come from. This one was one of the Ozarks. They are delicious. So stinking sweet and juicy. Highly recommend. We have Ozark, Seascape, and Tribute, and I think the Tribute is probably my favorite, but this Ozark is a close second. Next up, I want to get my beans in the ground. I have Ford Hook lima beans. We love lima beans. They're fun to grow, and they are a bush bean variety. So I am going to put some right here in this spot where I just cleared out the first couple rows of my garlic earlier. I'm going to put some there, and then in another few weeks, once I harvest the next batch of garlic, I will succession plant a few more lima bean plants. So let's get them in the ground. So just like before I planted my corn, I am going to amend my soil with some garden tone. I'm just going to work that into the soil really well. And lima beans prefer pretty rich, well-draining soil. They can be planted fairly close together. You can grow them as close as 6 inches apart. So that's pretty close together. And they only need to be sowed about 1.5 inches deep. So I have my lima bean seeds here. And like I said, they can be sown as close as 6 inches apart. Ideally, you want your rows 2 feet apart. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna fudge a little and do probably more on the like 12 to 18 inch side of things. All right, the last thing I think I'm gonna have time to get done today is to get my pole beans in the ground. These are the Seychelles variety, which is a fairly common variety. I got these from Park Seed last year. Hopefully they should still be pretty good. Anyways, I am gonna put them in this bed with some of my summer squash. This is a yellow squash, the Tempest variety, and it is producing so well already. I'm so excited. But squash and beans make great companion plants. It's actually part of the Three Sisters companion planting that Native Americans used to do, the corn, beans, and squash. So they make great companions. So I think I'm gonna build a couple little trellises here at the end and just put the first round of my pole beans in the ground there. I wanna show you just how well these are producing. There's so many tiny little squash all throughout here. And again, this is a yellow summer squash variety, the Tempest variety, and it does have some like mosaic modeling of the leaves that mimic disease, but specifically this Tempest variety, at least according to Johnny Seed's website, says that this is not a disease. Even though it looks kind of like a virus, it's not. It's just a unique expression of the gene for this yellow squash. But they're coming along nicely. I think this one will probably be our first to harvest pretty soon. I'm gonna create some supports, some little like bamboo TP trellises for the pole beans to grow on. They are super simple. You can use these green plastic stakes, or I'm going to use these bamboo poles, and I am just going to do them in sets of 3. They're very simple to create. Basically, all you do is you can put them in the ground in your configuration. So I'm just going to do 2 TPs in this bed. And then all I do is take my string, and this is just some garden twine, and basically I'm going to wrap it around the entire trellis like this. And that'll give something for the pole beans to climb up. First, I am just going to tie the 3 together. And I pull it and wrap it around each stake, and that just helps secure it so they don't slide around too much. And now I am just going to wrap my string around. You could wrap it just like this, pull it tight, but in order to keep them a little bit more secure and to keep them from sliding around, I kind of go around each stake twice, or go around it once. And that just keeps it so it's a little bit more secure. And these little supports aren't huge. You know, pole beans can reach upwards of like 6 feet or more, but my other trellises are in use, and I do have a support system that I normally use for them, but I might add that after the fact. But for now, this is what I have. I'm just going to work with it. And I am succession planting, so I will have another set of beans going in the ground later once my spring sweet peas are done. And so I'll just put the beans on that trellis. So this will just be for my first crop. So because these supports are on the small and short side and pole beans can get quite tall, I'm actually only going to put 2 beans per little trellis. And then once my sweet peas are done and I can use that trellis, I will put more of my green beans on that trellis later. These need to be planted about 1 inch deep, and I am going to put 2 just to ensure that I have some germinate, and then I can thin it out, 2 per hole. Get that label in. I went and found some shade in the tree line. It is getting quite hot, quite intense. It's getting to be that time of year. But I feel really good about what I got done today. I got the watermelon seeds in, corn planted, the pole beans and the lima beans, and then we also harvested the garlic and the beets. So feeling really good about that. I do have all my sweet potato slips that I need to get planted as well. I'm going to do those in grow bags. I've decided just to not take up space in the raised bed, in the raised beds. Even though I have 22 raised beds, I'm like, how am I running out of space? It's kind of mind-boggling. But I'm going to put them in grow bags and grow them along the fence of the raised bed garden. So I need to do that very soon. That's on the to-do list. I haven't even gotten my dahlias in the ground, y'all. I feel so behind. Starting a garden from scratch is not the easiest thing. It is not a fast pay. I'm not sure what's going on. My camera keeps dying, but I guess that's my signal to wrap it up for the day. So I'm going to head inside, clean up my stuff. I hope that you enjoyed following along. Let me know if you have gotten your corn and watermelon and beans in the ground, what varieties you're growing this year. The ocelot that we grew last year is fantastic. Highly recommend it if you are looking for a smaller, easy to grow watermelon. Thanks for watching today, and thanks for gardening with me.